Is he going to pull it? No.
I'm close now. So push hard now, Nico, push hard.
There we go. The catapult's about to be released.
Yeah, and see, there was your chance for Kimi Raikkonen to come in and perform the undercut, maybe on Daniel Ricciardo, but Ferrari didn't take it. They didn't take it really in Spain either, or weren't brave enough in Spain, as Verstappen now pits to cover, the threat of those around him.
Yeah, and they're trying to get Verstappen past Sergio Perez as well for 6th place, is what's going on. And let's see what sort of sector times they've got. Rosberg's not gone that fast, actually.
Ted, down to you.
Slow pit stop for Verstappen. There's a problem on the right rear. This is completely ruining the Dutchman's race. Never mind his competition with where he was trying to keep his place. It's going so slowly, he's losing so much time. Now finally they get the wheel back on, that he might actually be last of all. What a disappointment.
I think the wheel nuts stuck in, and they were banging it to try and get it released before they could put it back on the wheel gun again.
Such a shame. Such a shame for the 17-year-old who was driving nicely, well inside the top 10.
He's come out in 13th place, behind then Valtteri Bottas. It promotes Felipe Nasser up into 10th place. Lewis Hamilton's just set another fastest lap of the race. He has a 9-second advantage now over Nico Rosberg. Sebastian Vettel, who was down to about 0.8 of a second behind Rosberg, now 1.6 behind him. And I wonder if the moment has now gone for Ferrari to try that undercut, to be a bit brave and a bit bold and a bit fearless here in Monaco.
With a 9-second lead, Hamilton can pick and choose when he wants to come in now. Let's have a look at the traffic. And he's starting to catch Verstappen and co. So it might, and 4 cars actually, might be a good time soon if they wanted to pit Lewis to keep him. There it is, the traffic ahead of him. Another lap or 2 maybe. And then he can pretty much do as he pleases.
Oh, someone's had a big lock-up going into the swimming pool chicane. I wonder, under braking there, if that was Max Verstappen controlling the car, still locking up though, getting ahead of Will Stevens, who now gets out of the way of Lewis Hamilton once again, the race leader. Hamilton completes lap 31 of this 78 lap Monaco Grand Prix. His teammate Nico Rosberg.
So we will stay on this tyre longer and see where our gaps are. Good job.
This is all I have. This is all I have.
It's okay at the moment for him.
But what allowed them that comfort, of course, was Verstappen's horrible pit stop.
Well, it was Stevens who locked up, and then Verstappen took the opportunity to pass around the outside. Very nice indeed. Ted, down to you.
Lewis has been on the radio saying his tyres feel good. He's pulling away second a lap now that he's put the hammer down prior to his stop. And I think he's thinking of extending the stop. I think the stint, it might be a good idea because he needs to be sure of clearing Raikkonen. And what's the gap to Raikkonen now, Crofty? 21 seconds, something like that?
It is exactly 21 seconds.
So that would give the Mercedes mechanics a nice little buffer to make sure that he can get out, make his stop ahead of Kimi Raikkonen.
It's a fascinating race. It really is, this one. We haven't seen a huge amount of overtaking, that is for sure, but there are little pockets and little battles all over the track at the moment. Kimi Raikkonen, by the way, right into the gearbox, really, of Daniel Ricciardo, was only half a second behind Ricciardo at the end of lap 31. On board now with Sergio Perez through the swimming pool chicane. As you can see, really be in front of him or behind him. Still locks up just a touch though, doesn't he, through Raskas. There's Nico Hülkenberg, his teammate, coming in for what is his second pit stop in this race. And I'm sure as far as he's concerned, hopefully his last.
Okay, we have to close the gap and attack these guys ahead now. Nothing is over here.
Right, and Alonso makes his pit stop as well for McLaren. Now, Alonso was running in 9th place. I just wonder if he can serve that 5-second penalty. There they are, the crew, all primed and ready. And someone with a stopwatch will say, yep, 5 seconds is up, boys, away you go. And now into the race goes Alonso, and that is why he got the penalty.
He was a long way up the inside, wasn't he, to be fair, but he did lose control of the car.
does he get out ahead of Felipe Nasser? That's the big question for Fernando Alonso. And there is Felipe Nasser coming round Sainte Devote. Fernando Alonso might just be able to see him in his wing mirrors, but I doubt it very much because he's got a nice gap back to the Brazilian, and he keeps hold of that 9th place.
Looking good there now. Just penalty out of the way, the pasta tyres on, and he's got a chance of some World Championship points this afternoon.
For the first time this season, remember, he's not been pointless, Fernando Alonso, in the first 5 races since his Formula 1 debut year with Minardi in 2001.
Rosberg just on the just completed the fastest first sector of the race. Hamilton had a difficult lap. Hamilton is in the middle now. He's passed 2. He's got another, the 2 Williams and Grosjean to pass yet, and Nasser's just up the road as well. So traffic playing a role. I mean, just in that little moment where Will Stevens had to let him through at the Anthony Noakes corner, the final turn, cost Hamilton 1.2 seconds, for example. So that's how much you can lose just hesitating when you have to behind a back marker.
Kimi Räikkönen, I wonder if he's close enough here into the chicane under late braking to try and get past Daniel Ricciardo. He gets close, not close enough.
How are the tyres?
Struggling along well with the rears now. Struggling along with the rears at high speed.
Yeah, there's the swimming pool chicane, and the chicane posed by the slower moving Mana Marussia for Räikkönen and Ricciardo to negotiate. And out in front, 6.5 seconds, the gap between Hamilton and Rosberg. Vettel 1.9 seconds behind. Now DRS for Kimi Räikkönen down the main straight towards Sainte Devote, closes in but not enough. Ricciardo still keeps hold of that 4th place. Ted.
It's an interesting one on McLaren, isn't it? So they split their strategies with Alonso starting on the yellow tyre and then using the red tyre now to the end, the super soft, whereas Jenson Button was the other way round. So Button is going to keep, if he'd stopped now, for example, Jenson would keep track position on Alonso, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Easily, because Alonso was so far back. But he'd be on the slower tyre, wouldn't Jenson? The yellow tyre.
Yes.
And Fernando would be behind him on the quicker tyre, but some way behind him. So that might get tasty towards the end of the race. Assuming, of course, nothing breaks, and I hope there's no commentators' curse on that, because McLaren set for points with both cars.
Alonso starting 13th, Button starting 10th in this race.
Hamilton's had another difficult lap in traffic on the previous tour. The gap was 9, down to 6.5 now.
Why we had the penalty?
It was the incident with Hülkenberg at the start, but thanks to your pace, it hasn't affected us. So great job.
Now what's interesting, Jenson Button under pressure from Danny Kvyat at the moment. We're watching the battle for 4th, Ricciardo and Räikkönen, who actually might both benefit if Jenson Button can hold up Kvyat for a little bit longer. So the Russian's already made his stop. Just looking at the moment, the gap, as Jenson Button actually now pits, so that frees up Kvyat a little bit. The gap wasn't a huge amount, and it just a few laps longer. If Jenson Button had stayed out there, these two might have been able to leapfrog Danny Kvyat. It could still be quite close, but we'll see when the pit stops finally come around.
Interesting that McLaren chose not to tell Alonso about the penalty. Let him get on with it. Don't let him get angry or frustrated. And he was clearly sitting there thinking, get on with it then.
Driver like Alonso, though, he's a thinking, calculating man. Is it not better to tell him so he can...
I'm sure he knew before he came into the pits, but they obviously...
Just really struggling with the rears in low speed now. Starting to get close to a cliff.
Right, Sebastian Vettel is now coming in whilst Ricciardo is struggling with the rears and his tyres going off. A nice swift pit stop then for Sebastian Vettel, and out he goes back into the race again. Now he'll come out behind Mary, Ericsson and Sainz on the track. And they're just going through Sainte Devote now. Daniel Ricciardo now pits. Sebastian Vettel keeps hold of 4th place. Sazen is now 4th place as Räikkönen goes into 3rd. Ricciardo should come out in 5th place ahead of Danny Kvyat. That's who he's racing against. There goes Kvyat actually down the main straight, and Ricciardo just had to slot past and behind his teammate once again. Needed Kvyat to be held up by Button for just that little bit longer.
Yeah, Kvyat did a personal best there on that lap as well to ensure that. It wasn't Ferrari's finest pit stop of the year, but it was a 3.1 second for them, for Sebastian Vettel. What will Mercedes do now in response to that?
And here's interesting. Ricciardo's tyres, he said, hitting the cliff and starting to lose an awful lot of pace. Raikkonen, now he's been freed from behind the Red Bull, has just put in the best first sector that we've seen in this race so far. He's maybe found a little bit of pace as Rosberg now pits to cover off the threat of Sebastian Vettel, who's just gone into the swimming pool chicane now. You can see him on the map of the track as Rosberg makes his way at 60 kilometres an hour down the pit lane here, and into the pits comes Kimi Raikkonen. So can Raikkonen get ahead of Daniel Ricciardo? Can Rosberg stay ahead of Sebastian Vettel?
We need to be looking at the end of the pit straight. There
and
it is.
there's Rosberg coming through. There is Sebastian Vettel. Rosberg just makes it out. It was close. We've seen tighter, but Rosberg, thanks to a nice bit of work from his crew, manages to stay out, and the undercut threat from Ferrari is warded off on that occasion. Where's Kimi Raikkonen on the track? He is ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. There you can see it, going up Beau Rivage, and that in-lap from Kimi Raikkonen, once he'd been freed from behind the Red Bull, has absolutely paid off dividends. Ricciardo lost out to his teammate, and now Raikkonen.
We didn't make it. And you're in front of Vettel. Good job.
Yeah, so Ferrari, as the race leader Lewis Hamilton now comes into the pits. Ferrari made up a place with one of their drivers, but couldn't make up a further podium place with Sebastian Vettel.
3-second stop for Hamilton, so 0.1 quicker than his teammate. He had 7.4 second advantage last time I looked. So plenty there for him to play with as he heads out of the pit lane. This is the fight for second place. As Vettel said, we didn't make it, but I'm looking forward to seeing Raikkonen's pace now, because as soon as Ricciardo pitted, Raikkonen was just flying, albeit on old tyres, really flying along.
I wonder if Danny Kvyat now needs to watch out a little bit as well. He's the man currently running in fourth place, which would be far and above his best ever finish in Formula One. Kimi Raikkonen is behind him in hot pursuit, trying to pick up what would be a fourth place finish of the season so far.
39 laps on these tyres, a little over half tank of fuel. They should be able to lean on them pretty hard now. Should better go for it now. None of that saving business, I hope, towards the end of the Grand Prix. These tyres will get them home.
Be interested to find out, though, that the chance was there when Vettel was that much closer for the undercut a few laps ago. The Ferrari just believed that the soft tyres wouldn't go long enough at that particular part of the race. Or was the gap just not there for them, or they just not fancy being brave enough? Because they had the opportunity, I think, Martin, to try that undercut.
Yeah, presumably Mercedes would have responded the next lap, whatever happened. But
Rosberg, that was when they were in the traffic, though, wasn't it? You see, there wasn't much Rosberg could have done about it at the time. It's the beauty of the undercut, takes you by surprise.
Rosberg, new fastest lap of the race. He likes these tyres.
Roberto Merri is under investigation, so maybe not so much fun, Bobby, there, for crossing the line of the pit exit.
It's one of the basic rules. So you can't wander onto the track and run into somebody going somewhat faster than you, especially here. That's why you see those yellow arrows telling drivers on the pit straight somebody's about to emerge.
So Raikkonen in hot pursuit of Kvyat, Ricciardo in hot pursuit of Raikkonen.